All right, I think we've reached a critical mass. Hi, everyone. Welcome or welcome back if this is your first giant Zoom call for Harris or your 50th in the last 17 days. We are thrilled to have you here tonight. My name is Liz Minnella, and it's a surreal privilege to be your host for the first Women Wednesdays for Harris. This series was put together by the organizers behind White Women Answer the Call. That is the call that broke Zoom and had over 200,000 women tune in and raised $11 million. But we were very clear that night that we do not need to form a White Women for Harris coalition. We need white women to join in and learn from existing coalitions and women of color and use their privilege to help advance that work. So that's what we're doing tonight. And we also need to keep going, as my necklace says. It's great to join a kickoff call. It's cool to raise $11 million, but the sustained work that we will do here each week, that's what will actually win us this election. In the first week of Zooms after Kamala Harris became the presumptive nominee, that was like a kickoff pep rally. So consider tonight student orientation, and moving forward, we'll provide you with tight, information-packed masterclasses on organizing, fundraising, making a real measurable impact on this election. And it will also be fun. My vision board for these calls is for it to be a place full of dynamic speakers with different points of view and backgrounds. We'll have fun surprises and powerhouse activists and influencers and celebrities and elected officials to learn from and be inspired by. But let's first start with an overview of why we're here and what we're going to do for these next 12 weeks. So here to tell us what we can expect is Moms Demand Action founder, Shannon Watts.
Thank you so much, Liz. As Liz said, almost 2 weeks ago now, all of you answered the call, and you committed to do everything in your power to help elect Kamala Harris as the first woman, first Black woman, first South Asian woman president of the United States. And now, with just 89 days left until the election, it is time to get to work. So every Wednesday between now and November, this is the space that you can count on to help you hone your organizing skills, to grow your election experience. And in under an hour, we will teach you how to have the most persuasive conversations possible. We'll walk you through ways to get out the vote, including hosting house parties and registering voters, phone banking and knocking doors. And we'll also talk to you about ways that you can fundraise for candidates in your own communities. So whether you're a first-time activist or a seasoned pro, I promise you that Women Wednesdays will be a valuable use of your time, and that the skills you take away from each call, which, as I said, I promise will last just an hour, won't only help you elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, but these skills will also help you act locally to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. These calls will be inclusive and led by an assortment of wise activists and leaders and open to all. And they'll be about more than just work. I promise you we will have fun, we will celebrate our successes, and because we're women, we will get a lot of shit done. And along the way, we want your feedback because we will adapt our content just to make sure that all the information we're sharing is relevant and helpful to you. And also, as Liz mentioned, tonight's call is really about setting the table for the next 14 weeks. We will talk about the vice presidential pick, go Tim Walz. We will give you talking points to share with your network about current campaign issues, and we'll provide of the importance of coalition building. And that includes ways that you can harness your own political power no matter where you live. And will also help you plug into the incredible grassroots energy that's been unleashed by Kamala Harris's candidacy, especially in swing states. I'm going to hand it over to Virginia, but I just want to do a quick exercise with you. If you can, close your eyes. And I want you to imagine that you are waking up on Wednesday, November 6th. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have just been elected president and vice president. Democrats have retaken the House majority. We held on to the Senate. Donald Trump has been handed a resounding and embarrassing defeat, and a defeat that was powered by women of all ages, backgrounds, and from different parts of the country, red, blue, and everywhere in between. In other words, you, women just like you. So really think about what that moment would feel like, and then imagine what comes next. We retake our freedoms from the hands of Donald Trump's handpicked Supreme Court. We reclaim our democracy from the authors of the authoritarian handbook called Project 2025. Think about that feeling and let it fuel you for the next 89 days to fight like hell to make the vision that I just described a reality. Because we will win if we show up every day and we take action and we share our collective wisdom. Every single one of you who tuned in tonight is an influencer and a leader in her own right. Your unique values, your abilities, your desires can and will play a crucial role in helping Democrats win in November. I personally cannot wait to watch all of you work, to learn from you. And then in 14 weeks, on the Wednesday after we win the election, we will gather one last time to celebrate all of your hard work and our success. So now for a campaign update, we are joined by Virginia Mcgregor, DNC Treasurer and National Co-Chair of Women for Harris. Virginia, take it away.
Well, thank you, Shannon. And I know I can't keep my eyes closed until November 6th because there's just too much work to be done. But thank you for that visualization exercise. And I wanted to say I'm excited to hear from my friends, Senator Amy Klobuchar and Mayor Wu of Boston in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you about a conversation I had with two other women last night. I was at the electrifying rally in Philly, and I think I lost my voice from all the screaming and cheering, where we as a country were officially introduced to the Harris-Walz ticket. And how about Governor Walz? Doesn't he seem like he just makes people happy? That he's a good-hearted, capable, accomplished, hardworking man who genuinely cares about the people he serves. So last night, I had the opportunity to say hello to our incredible Vice President, Kamala Harris, and Harris-Walz campaign chair, Jen O'Malley Dillon. And I said to Vice President Harris, how about all of the money women have been raising? And she smiled and said, I know, it's great. And I said, how about the way women have been turning out to support this campaign? And Vice President Harris said to me, we are going to win this. Later at the rally, I saw Jen O'Malley Dillon and thanked her for all of her hard work. And again, I bragged about all of these terrific Zooms that have happened since the Vice President announced her candidacy. And she said, it is so great, and we need to keep working, and we need to keep raising. And you know why? Because women are powering this campaign. 94% of the $310 million in donations that we raised in the first week of Vice President Harris's campaign was made by grassroots donors, people who gave $200 or less. 60% of those donations came from women. The number one profession of donors was teachers. How about those teachers? And in the 24 hours since Governor Walz was announced, we raised $36 million. And women know if we want our political system to serve women, we need to be the system. So sign up to Phone Bank, knock on doors, host a house party, set a fundraising goal. For those of you with a new Razor link, we have a challenge going on. Raise $22,000 by August 22nd, which is the last day of convention. As a longtime fundraiser, I will tell you this, raising the first $20,000 is always the hardest. And if you'd like to sign up to be a raiser and get a personalized code to track your progress, fill out the form that we're dropping in the chat now. Fundraising and powering this campaign is your own individual power. I got my start because I believed in a campaign and I wanted to help support the efforts. And almost a decade later, I was appointed by President Joe Biden to be treasurer of the DNC. But it began with me sitting at my kitchen table, knowing that I wanted to make a difference, just like all of you. And look, I know that most of you have already given, but please consider making another donation to the link in the chat right now. Give whatever you can, and let's show that Women for Harris are 100% behind Tim Walz for VP. The campaign knows all about our efforts, and they are so impressed. But as Vice President Harris said last night, we are the underdog, so we need to keep raising. This is the shortest Democratic presidential campaign that's been run in my lifetime. There are only 89 days left, only 12 more of these Wednesdays until Election Day, and we are fighting for our future. This campaign doesn't have billionaires in our back pockets like some other candidates do, but we have something better. We have you. We at the DNC are spending this money wisely, but it is very expensive to reach every voter and make the case for Team Harris-Walz. Just last week, we announced that we will spend $50 million in ads leading up to the convention. We have more than 250 coordinated campaign offices throughout the country and have employed 1,500 staff so far. Last month, the DNC announced a $15 million investment in battleground states to support these election efforts. And just today, we announced that we are building a massive ground game advantage in the blue wall with more than 600 coordinated staff in those battleground states alone. So the answer to will it take more money is yes. So tell your friends about the stakes of this election. And when you're at your summer barbecues, make sure you have 3 quick points about why you're voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Maybe it's defending reproductive rights, or maybe it's expanding opportunities for the middle class, or protecting our kids from gun violence. Whatever your reasons, help people get excited about this vibrant ticket. Harness that excitement because it's their pathway into the campaign. And this is how we build community. And then ask them to make a contribution to help elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Let your network know that we are fighting for our future. And when women fundraise, we make our voices heard. When women vote, we win. Thanks so much for having me here tonight.
Thank you, Virginia. That was wonderful. I too got my start hosting a fundraiser at my friend's house. It raised $25,000, I think, and it felt like the tallest mountain I had ever climbed. And raising is not just for millionaires and billionaires. Little did I know that that was just the start. So get raising. Myself and Virginia and the amazing women on the finance team at Women for Harris are here to support, and we can guide you. Fundraising is like an extremely measurable way to make an impact on this campaign. I can pull up my tracker and tell myself, I did that. If I stayed home, this campaign would not have this money. And to me, that's really powerful. So copy those links in the chat, donate, and sign up to raise. Okay, so it seems the entire nation has turned its attention to the great state of Minnesota this week. Minnesota is home to not only beautiful lakes and parks, but to progressive policies and groundbreaking investments in that state's future, secured by the incredible elected officials that represent that state. And someone who knows that state better than anyone, because she has been serving as a senator there for the last 18 years, is Senator Amy Klobuchar. Senator Klobuchar is the first woman to be elected as a U.S. Senator from Minnesota. She is a leader known for her pragmatism and tenacity. She's someone I personally admire because she isn't afraid to be a powerful and intelligent woman in every room she steps into. I'm so thrilled to welcome from the great state of Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar.
Well, thank you so much, Liz. Thank you to this incredible group. And I didn't make it in a room because I was at Minnesota's Farm Fest, which tends to have a lot of Republicans at, honestly. I am now in Franklin, Minnesota, 514 population, with a few pickup trucks that I promised to meet the guys in when I'm done here so we could do this call. And I am just very excited to be here with all of you. So let me first say, I did want to talk about how important that small money contribution in. When I first ran for Senate, Virginia knows this, I didn't know anyone. I was a local official and I was running for U.S. Senate. No one would call me back. They couldn't say my last name. And by 1 August, right about now, about a year before the election, I finally just decided I'm just going to call everyone in my life. I'm going to look at my old addresses. I'm going to do anything because no one will call me back. And I set what is still a U.S. Senate record. I raised $17,000 from ex-boyfriends. And as my husband has pointed out, it is not an expanding base. So I cannot tell you how important that is right now. I am so psyched about, first of all, Joe Biden's incredible decision, his honorable decision to step aside and pass the torch to Kamala Harris. I don't think anyone, but maybe us on the call, predicted how powerful this would be and how people were ready to help her every step of the way. The day that that happened, I was stranded in the airport. Remember those days a few weeks ago? And there were these 2 guys, and they came up, "We're with you, Amy." It was in Minnesota. And I said, well, what do you think of this change? And I thought, I don't know what they're going to say. And these young guys, and they're like, yeah, we like her. Yeah, we like her. At this moment, the phone rang and the call was blocked. I'm like, well, maybe it's her right now. It was Kamala. I'm like, Kamala, you got 2 new fans here. Do you want to talk to them? So anyway, that was how this all started for me. I have been nonstop on this ever since, even though I have my own election where I just debated my 7 opponents. We won't go into that. But I truly believe that this ticket is going to win. And I've always said that if you don't think a woman can beat Donald Trump, look at what Nancy Pelosi did every single day of her speakership. So remember that. Now we go on to the next thing, Tim Walz. I'm uniquely qualified to talk about Tim. We started in politics together. We came into Congress together. First thing you should know about him is you talk to your friends. He's really good at working with strong women. His wife, Gwen, is incredibly strong. 2 senators from Minnesota, myself, Smith, pretty strong. Then you go into his lieutenant governor, Peggy Flanagan, the highest ranking American Indian woman, Native woman in public office. That is who he chose to be his lieutenant governor in Minnesota. You run as a pair. She's incredible. You should meet her sometime. Hopefully she can get on one of your calls. Secondly, what did he do with his power? Because you can sit on power. You can have power and just be like, great, I'm in power. Everyone likes me. But what did he do with power when he became governor? What he did with his power is that he got the best paid family leave policy in America in place in the state of Minnesota. What he did with his power, along with our 2 incredible leaders of the legislature, 2 women, of course, is that he made sure that there was free school lunches, free school breakfasts for every kid in the state of Minnesota. And he enshrined into law a woman's freedom to make her own decisions about her health care without Ted Cruz sitting in the waiting room. They didn't put that in the law. But we literally have that in our state law now. We are surrounded, we're in a tough neighborhood by states that do not support abortion rights. We've got North Dakota, South Dakota, and the state of Iowa. So that is Tim Walz for when you talk to your friends. Another thing I want you to know is when people are saying, oh, he did this, he did that. This is a guy that signed up to serve when he was 17 years old in the Army National Guard, when he was growing up in the state of Nebraska, living on the farm. He served in the National Guard for over 20 years, moves to Minnesota, is what the Wall Street Journal described when he first ran for Congress, burly high school coach. As Kamala said yesterday at the rally Virginia was at, he literally took a winless high school football team, built up those kids, and they won the state championship while serving as a geography teacher. I met one of the kids in the TV studio last night, who's now a grown guy, who was one of his students. The kid said he wasn't going to graduate at all from high school until Coach Walz came along. Then Tim decides to run, and he runs in one of the reddest districts in our state, right near here where I am right now. He was the second Democrat in 100 years that won that seat. And at the last 2 years he was in Congress, he won again and again, never lost. The last 2 years he was voted in the top 10 by GovTrack that tracks this as most bipartisan. So wherever the people you talk to are coming from, it's important to know that about Tim. He then became the governor of our state. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country. We're 6th in the country by CNBC's ratings last month for doing business. So we've got a great story to tell. But mostly, I hope what you heard from Tim last night and what you will see on the campaign trail is a sense of optimism and joy. Joy about our country, joy about what this administration will achieve, and joy about simply being an American. And I think it's going to be, as a mosquito goes in front of my face, you are just going to love this guy. So I'm just excited to be here with all of you, and can't wait to see what this group does. But remember, if I raise $17,000 from ex-boyfriends, you can raise a lot more on this call. So let me know how I can help. I'm happy to do any calls with all of you. I'll be going around the country. I was just in Ohio helping share it. And this is an election like no other. And when all these criticisms are lodged at Kamala and Tim, they are going to hold their heads high. And you already saw that. You see that in how she's handled these rallies, these huge crowds that are just bugging Donald Trump to hell. There's nothing he hates more than that. And they're holding their heads high because no matter what they say about him, they're on a mission. Just like for Tim, mission with his troops, mission with helping his students, mission with our state, just like with Kamala, with the work she's done as vice president to get us through this pandemic, the work we did together on the Judiciary Committee when we correctly identified what those Supreme Court justices would do. I just can't tell you how happy this ticket makes me. I hope it makes you happy. And now I've got to go see those guys in the pickup trucks. So I just want to thank you. I'm going to get off the call now. I wish I could hear the mayor, and I'm honored to be with all and would love to come back again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. Thanks for being with us during your busy campaign schedule. And I think everybody should scroll up in the chat, smash that secure.kamalaharris.com donation link and donate in honor of an ex-boyfriend for Amy. Whatever amount you're moved to donate, depending on how bad it was. Okay, so
or it's a lesson you should keep good relations with your exes.
Yeah, or actually, if you have a good relationship with your ex,
there's a lesson. There's a lesson. It's a lesson. All right.
Everyone text that donation link to an ex-boyfriend and see if they donate, and then you know if they're a good one.
Okay.
Well, that was wonderful to hear about Tim Walz and how he surrounds himself with strong, powerful women and how that makes him a stronger leader. I think Sarah put in the chat some takeaway talking points. So make sure you copy those down, you put them in your own words, you make them your own. And now we promised you action items and tangible takeaways. So get your notes ready because Leah Greenberg, Executive Director at Indivisible, is ready to give you the foundation to build your grassroots organizing on. Hi, Leah.
Hey, Liz. Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be here with you tonight. We need you all, and yeah, we're going to make history together. We are 89 days away from making history together, and every single day we are going to make it count. So I'm going to talk about two foundational pieces. As Liz said, this is the part where we start giving you action items, or where we start giving you some homework. So I'm going to talk about two foundational pieces. And the first is what we're going to ask you to do on this call, which is forming your all-in for Harris action team. And then the second piece is about how you're going to craft your strategy based on your geography and where you're located. So first, what we're going to talk about here is crucial to everything that's going to come after. It is about building your all-in action team for Harris. And I'm going to walk through what that is, why we're asking you to do it, and how we'll support you in doing so. So first, what's an action team? That might sound a little intimidating. It does not have to be. An action team is any group of people who want to get Kamala Harris elected. You can make a Facebook page for your town. You can ask your book club members to join you. You can invite 5 of your friends to a group chat. If you are part of an existing grassroots group, I know there are some indivisibles on this call. Maybe this is a team that already lives within your group and you can use it to bring in new members who are really excited about Kamala and Coach Walz. The most important thing is just to get started wherever you are and with whatever you've got. All right, next slide. So why are we starting by asking other people to join us? I know there are a lot of people on this call who are just like, I want to get started. I want to do everything I possibly can right now. Why are you telling me to go invite other people? Really practical reasons, right? We know that groups together, well, first of all, we know there are more people who are out there right now who are excited about Kamala Harris or who could be excited about Kamala Harris than are organized and taking action. And so our first task is making sure that anybody who could be doing that, you are finding those people, you are closing the gap by reaching out and bringing those people in. And fundamentally, that's because we know that groups drive more action together than you're going to be able to do alone. You could get on a phone bank tonight and do a phone banking shift, or you could take that time and loop in 5 people who are all going to start taking action because you reached out every day or every week over the next 13 weeks. Pretty quickly, those 5 people are going to do a lot more than you were able to do by yourself. Now, we also know that people who take action together are more likely to keep taking action because it is fun. Because for the same reason that if you have a gym buddy, you are more likely to keep going to the gym. You help keep each other in the fight together. And then there's finally a strategic reason, right? Elections are decided by conversations, and we know that local messengers are ultimately some of the most effective weapons we have, secret weapons we have. A lot of the voters that we are ultimately trying to get out in this election, they are low trust, low information voters. They may not trust politicians. They may not trust ads. but they might trust a friend or a neighbor or a colleague or, somebody who is in their community and who exists in relationship to them. So for us to be successful, we are going to need that army of local volunteers. Okay. Now you may be wondering, if I ask my friends to do this, what am I actually going to do with the team? And the answer is a lot. It's going to look different based on who and where you are, what you're comfortable with. Every week, we are going to offer you actions to take and train you on how to do them. You can ask your team members to tune into these live stream or to these Zooms, or maybe all get together to watch, or you can tune in and share the asks to them directly. Next week, for example, we are going to be walking through how to host a convention watch party and how to talk to your neighbors about Kamala. And if you're ready to get going right then great. And if you want more training and support, we will make sure you get it in future sessions. At every step of the way, we are going to connect you with resources for how to organize your group, how to get help and advice, and how to get plugged in and get new and impactful opportunities. All right, next slide. So now, just to be clear, this is not a situation where we want you to get off the call and go do some errands and wake up tomorrow and think about doing this outreach. We want you to actually do it like right now. So I am going to ask you first, write down the names of 3 to 5 people in your life who you think might be interested in taking action to elect Kamala Harris. This can be family, this can be neighbors, this can be coworkers, this can be friends, this can be fellow members of your church or synagogue. Think about just anybody in your life who you could maybe ask. And now we're just going to pop some different messages in the group chat, different message options. And what I'm going to ask you to do is literally take the one that speaks to you, copy paste, and start sending it out right now while we're on this call. If you have got a great idea for a message for other people to send, let us know in the inbox, and we'll try to share some of that as well in the future. So here's a couple of different options that we just went ahead and popped up on some different bubbles, but you can definitely get creative, improvise, copy paste those, keep moving. And then as those people say yes, you're going to put them together in a group chat and you're going to introduce them to each other. Congratulations, you are now an organizer. Next slide. All right. So after you have started asked those folks, or right now, depending on how you do these things and how ready you are, we're going to ask you to go to this link where you register, where you can scan the QR code and register. This is for a specific reason. We are going to be making specific resources, supports, toolkits available to people who are organizing these action teams. And we want to make sure that we have an easy way to reach you and get you the stuff that you need. And you have a way to get in contact with us to get support, get your questions answered, be aware of all the opportunities, et cetera. So as you are assembling your action team, or right now, if you know that this is something you're going to do, scan that QR code, go and sign up so that we can get you your organizer introductory toolkit to forming the action team. All right. Okay, now we're going to switch gears and we are going to talk about something that I know there's a lot of energy about because I have heard about it from many people across our network for many years. How where you live determines the strategy and the actions that you are going to take. What you are seeing in front of you right now is a map of the presidential battlegrounds. I believe it is assembled via 270 to Win, which is a really fun website to go play around with the Electoral College if you'd like to. Because of the Electoral College, presidential elections are going to be decided by a pretty small number of votes in a pretty small number of states. And it really comes down to the states that are in gray in this slide right here. Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Minnesota. That's kind of the ball game for the presidential election. But there's also an expanded battleground map. So next slide. If you're thinking about Senate and congressional targets, which are going to be really crucial, right? Because we need to not only elect Kamala Harris, we need to elect Kamala Harris with big congressional majorities, or with as big of a congressional majority as we can get so that she can pass her ambitious legislative agenda. And that means that there's a big bunch of states where we have to fight on the ground really hard to make sure that it's not just we're electing Vice President Harris and we're electing everybody who's going to support her in Washington. So if you look at this map, this is a map of every state that has either a competitive Senate race or a competitive House race somewhere in that state. And so that's a much more expanded battlegrounds map where we need to make sure that people are also plugging in, because fundamentally together, all of those places make up the battleground targets, and we got to fight in all of those places so that we can win nationally, so that we can pass the really amazing legislative agenda that Vice President Harris has said that she wants, everything from reproductive freedom and voting rights to a care agenda and gun violence prevention. We got to get it. We got to get all these people across the finish line if we're going to get there. So next slide. Oh, and sorry, one additional thing. We're going to drop in the chat some instructions on how to determine if you live in a competitive congressional district. So if you are seeing your state on that map and you're like, there's something competitive near where I live, great. Come, we'll put that in the chat so that you can figure out how to look that up for yourself and how to confirm that you are close by. I will give you a hint. If you are in California or New York, those are the places with the largest number of flippable congressional districts right now. So don't tell me that you can't do anything because you're in California or you can't do anything because you're in New York. You might be sitting right on top of a winnable fight that is in your backyard. Now, what we're going to talk to you on the coming calls about are going to be a couple different tracks because your tactics will look different based on where you live. If you are in a battleground, we're really focusing with you on the things that only you can do because you're on the ground. So our priority is going to be asking you about ways to do local work. Outside battlegrounds, we're going to focus on digital and remote work, as well as helping people get to the battlegrounds. This is not a exhaustive list of tactics. I'm not putting them up here because it's everything we're going to do or because you need to do all of these right now. But I want you to see a little bit more about what we're going to be talking about and doing together and helping train you on over the coming weeks so you can explain it to your team. Because again, this all works best if you have a team. So with that, I am going to make one more plug. We will pop the links in the chat, but be sure to reach out to those people who might be part of your action team tonight. Grab the text from the call and be sure to register with us so that we can follow up and get you that organizing toolkit so that you can take the next steps with your action team. And we're really excited to organize with you. We're really excited as you step into this role. Together, we are going to win.
Thanks, Leah. All right. I hope everyone was taking notes. We will also, at the end, resend all these links and we will also email them to you. Okay, so I promised you some fun surprises tonight, and here is a super exciting one. Tonight, we are so honored to be joined by Ashley Judd, an acclaimed actress and dedicated activist. Her list of incredible roles is as long as the list of causes and organizations that she champions. She's an incredible example of using one's platform to amplify the voices of others, because that's what we want you to do. Ashley, my mom and I watch The Divine Secrets of the Aya Sisterhood every summer, and I'm always so moved by your performance, and I'm just so excited to welcome you to the first Women Wednesdays for Harris. Hi.
Hi, Liz. Thank you so much for having me and trusting me in this, what to me is a sacred and holy space. Thank you so much. It's a
Did we lose Ashley?
do you have me?
We have you now. Okay.
Okay. Hi.
That's fire. Okay, thanks. We just heard your hello, so if you don't mind starting over, that'd be great.
Sure, of course. I apologize. It is a pleasure and a delight to be trusted, to be in this space with you. And I love women, and I love being in community and fellowship with the women of America this evening for this auspicious occasion. And as we sit in all our different ways and places and with our backgrounds, I'm reminded what I was taught by Gloria Steinem, which is that we are linked, not ranked. We are linked, not ranked. And I just want to share, I'm really unwell, so I'm going to do my best to be cogent, but I've been enduring a violent migraine for 75 days. And yes, I've been to the hospital and the craniosacral and all the things. But even when I don't feel good, it is important to me to live my values in some small way every day. And I'm here tonight because my values include electing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz president and vice president of the United States. And we are going to do that together. And it's my profound belief that we women will make history, permanently change the course of history by sharing our own authentic and vulnerable stories with the women around us. And I learned this vividly and viscerally in 1986 when it was a Black woman's story that birthed my political, social, and racial justice and feminist awakening. Her story literally made me the advocate, activist, and humanitarian and Democrat that I am today. I was 18 years old, living in a sorority house at the University of Kentucky. It was all white. When I knew better, I did better. And I had been to 13 schools in 12 years, and I had lived alone as a child for 2 years without an adult or a caregiver looking after me. And I gravitated to the kitchen where this warm, charismatic woman made me her chosen daughter. And to this day, I think Barbara raised me well. She was our cook. She was a Christian like I am, and it was Barbara who taught me that Jesus was a dark-skinned man. It was Barbara who taught me liberation theology, concretizing that my faith is about justice and freedom for the poor, the oppressed, and the sick. And Barbara didn't tell me, she showed me through her daily life about multiple oppressions intersecting that devastated her opportunity, her safety, and her pocketbook. And in that kitchen, Barbara told me she would take a paycheck from the school, but she wouldn't send her children to be educated there. And Barbara called this institutional and structural racism. And one morning while I was reading the local paper, and I literally cried out in visceral pain because I had read it was legal for husbands to rape their wives, it was Barbara who said to me simply, "Yes, honey, my husband can rape me." And I'm telling you all of this because I am here prepared to give my all to elect Kamala Harris for president because of Barbara. She is the one who taught me that our personal stories are political and they should determine policy. So, for example, our stories will bring other fellow women to the ballot box on November 5th. I share my abortion story. A man who I'd known since I was 7 raped me. I became pregnant, and I was able to access a safe, legal abortion right here in my community, which is why I am so glad that Tim Walz enshrined abortion rights in his state's constitution and then declared in Minnesota, we trust women. Or my story of speaking the Nasty Woman poem at the Women's March in 2016. I quoted in that poem former President Trump. He said those things, he got elected. I said those things, and I got fired from an endorsement job, and my pocketbook is still less today because of that sexist hypocrisy with which American women live every day in small ways and large, in public spaces, in the workplace. And Barbara would remind us right now how women of color are paid less for equal work, with our Indigenous women being paid the least of all. And I am so looking forward to the moment that a woman of Black and South Asian descent will get that presidential paycheck and lift up with her all women of all kinds, including our lesbian, bi, trans, and gender expansive identifying women, because their stories are American stories too. So in closing, I just want to invite you to reflect on your stories of girlhood and womanhood in America. Think about them, write about them, process them, activate them in your community, knowing to be true what Barbara taught me 38 years ago. Your personal story is political and it should determine policy. And our country needs Kamala Harris's and Tim Walz policies. All our personal lives will be better. Our country will be better. And thank you for trusting me to contribute a little bit tonight. Peace be with you. And remember, when we fight, we win. Love you.
Love you. Thank you, Ashley. And you're so right. Our personal stories, hearing yesterday at that rally, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris talk about their personal stories and where they came from and how they make the personal political, that's powerful. And that's what we want you all to do. We want you to put these talking points and the things and the feelings that you're having here tonight. We want you to make them your own. We want you to make them your story. And let's go get Kamala that presidential paycheck. So next, I am thrilled to introduce you to the dynamic leader who has been shaping the future of Boston with vision and commitment, Mayor Michelle Wu, elected as Boston's first female mayor and the city's first Asian American mayor. Michelle Wu has brought a fresh perspective and an innovative approach to public service. And like many of us on this call, probably, Mayor Wu is a millennial mom, and she's also pregnant with her 3rd child. She is an inspiration to young activist moms everywhere. It's not easy to do this work between bedtime and bath time, I can still hear that my kids are awake. But I find myself thinking that if she can run the city of Boston with a young, growing family, I can put my all into this campaign for the next 89 days. So please welcome Mayor Michelle Wu.
Hey everyone, thank you so much, Liz, and thank you to everyone for taking the time to be with us. I am just so honored to be alongside such sheroes and icons on this call. So I'm kind of giddy with just excitement seeing everyone else who's speaking. Thank you for taking the time to really invest in our democracy, in your community, and in the future that all of us deserve. As Liz said, I have had a little bit of experience with the glass ceiling here in Boston. We are a city that's almost 400 years old, and yet it took until 2021 to elect the first ever woman, the first ever person of color to this office. I also have the distinction of being the first woman to have breastfed her baby on the city council floor when I was serving on the city council. And God willing, in a couple months, will be the first Boston mayor to have a baby in office. And I so badly want this baby girl to grow up in a world where all she'll ever know is that women can run the world. The issues at stake this November are so personal for so many of us. Like so many women out there, my journey and my family's journey to this point of having my third child, a first girl after two incredible little boys, has been full of heartbreak and complexity also. And to get to this point, we've had to manage multiple miscarriages with the very healthcare treatments that Project 2025 and Trump and all of them are looking to make sure are banned across the country. And to get to this point of the family we dreamed of, I've been able to benefit from the Massachusetts protected assistive reproductive care that they are also refusing to acknowledge is basic and part of the rights of every family to be able to access. All of this is on the chopping block. And locally, I know, when you're serving at the ground level, you see people every day and you hear the stories of so many. This is, my experience is just a mirror to what is happening in our community. We have so much urgency and need on the ground. And locally, you also realize the power that each one of us holds to really shape and build the momentum for where we're going to go in the future. I've had the chance to serve now, having been in government in my third year as mayor, but 8 years on the city council before that, of experiencing what it was like under the Biden-Harris administration versus the before times, and the difference between having to rally and mobilize to fight against your own federal government to protect your constituents and people, compared to what these last 3 years have been with federal support, alignment, protections, progress, and resources, because they get it. And now we have a ticket with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz, who truly embody so many of the experiences of my constituents and all of our neighbors, people who know what it's like to need to put together all the various pieces that you're juggling when you're just trying to make sure your family can access everything that they deserve. And for me, there's an extra personal element here. I grew up as a young Asian American girl who really didn't see anyone who looked like me or reflected my family's experiences in positions of leadership. And my very first taste of politics was when I was in law school starting from an intern on the Elizabeth Warren campaign. 12 years ago, this was Massachusetts breaking the glass ceiling with our very first woman senator. And eventually the biggest responsibility I got as I worked my way up in the campaign was to help when some surrogates would come to town and make sure that they were comfortable going and rallying around folks in Boston. And we got a call from someone who was willing to fly in from very, very far away because she wanted to help a fellow woman make history here in Massachusetts. Then Attorney General Kamala Harris came to Boston, and I was almost shaking the whole day getting to help staff her and support her as she went around. And I saw her in rooms of 5 or 6 people. I saw her do large scale events. And in every setting, she was just everything that I had dreamed of seeing as a role model, as someone who knew what it was like and finally reflected the experiences that my family had had. There's power to making sure that each and every person in our community feels seen and heard and belongs in our community. And to now have this incredible ticket moving us forward with such joy and vision and excitement, I can't wait. I'm not gonna. Anyway, I was almost gonna say I'm gonna have more kids in this world. No, this is probably it. I am going to be doing everything that I can to mobilize here in Boston. We are going to try to find volunteers to either go to New Hampshire or potentially even a trip over to Pennsylvania. We'll be doing phone banks in multiple languages. What I can tell you at the grassroots level is that no matter how much experience you have organizing, all democracy is local. It's the one-on-one conversations. It's hearing from someone you know and trust. And so each one of us has a role and has a responsibility and a power to be able to make a difference here. So please knock on doors, sign up your all-in Harris Action Team, make sure that you are in every setting bringing up what's at stake and also what possibilities and promise is ahead for all of us. Throw a house party, have a block party, make sure that the people that you love know that we all need to band together in this moment to protect the future for all of our community members. So thank you so much for all that you're doing. Thanks for being involved. And I'm just so excited and so thrilled for what's ahead for all of us. Thanks to the work that this group is going to do.
Thank you so much, Mayor Wu. And I feel like that is the ultimate motivation. Let's make sure her little baby never knows a world where there isn't a female president of the United States. Our next speaker tonight truly embodies the phrase fan favorite. Actress, activist, podcast host, and everyone's favorite social media follow, Busy Phillips. Unfortunately, my favorite comfort activity of rewatching Cougar Town episodes has been put on hold for a few months while we all work our asses off for Kamala. So that's why I'm so glad I get to see you here tonight, Busy. Welcome.
Oh my gosh, Liz, thanks so much. I'm so happy to be here. Look, I have to tell you guys, everyone on this call, I just did the most unfortunate thing and I looked at my comments. I just looked at my comments just now, guys. And I have to tell you, I'm just using it because I want to advise everyone, all of you 6,000 wonderful people who are fired up on this call. Fuck them. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing. We have what we have now on our side, and I look naked, but I actually am wearing a dress. What we have on our side is hope. And years ago, I went to see DeRay McKesson, the activist and author and all-around badass human, DeRay McKesson, speak. And he said a thing to me in the speech, but that really resonated with me, which was that people do not want to vote against, they want to vote for. They do not want to be against, they want to be for. And what has happened in the last couple of weeks, and certainly in the last, 36 hours, is that there has been a wave of feeling that like we can all be for something. We can be for an absence of toxic masculinity. We can be for people who want to provide genuine compassion and empathy and understanding in government. We can be for people who understand that children getting meals isn't weird. That is the bare minimum. Sometimes I have my daughter turns 16 next week, which is wild because I feel like I am 19. So it feels weird that she's turning 16. And I'm sure a lot of my mom friends out there can relate to me. My daughter, who's about to turn 16, occasionally I will say something to her and she will say like, Mom, that's the bare minimum you could do. Like, calls me out on my shit. And what I think is so interesting is that we have all decided collectively that the bare minimum is a thing that is horrible. Like these Republican people have convinced us that providing food for school children, which by the way, takes kind of nothing away from anyone in the state of Minnesota. In fact, everyone's fine and the kids get to eat. And yet it's been made to feel like it's insane. All I'm saying is that I am here for voting for. And I am voting for this ticket. I'm so excited to have a vice president and Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz who are going to fight for our rights. And I think that we all can like come together with our compassion and our empathy. And as women, listen, I don't know. It's a lot. It's all a lot out there. And Shannon was talking about like imagining ourselves on November 6th. Okay, I'm a real crystal LA. I grew up in Arizona, guys. I like love crystals. I like vision board, you know, whatever. The Secret, I don't know. The 8/8 portal is tomorrow. All I'm saying is that there are like 6,000 of us on this call. And like if half of us just wrote in our journals November 6th, 2024, I'm so excited that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz won by a landslide and that we took the Senate and the House. And I'm so grateful for the universe for providing. Just write it in your journal, maybe tonight or tomorrow. I don't know. Let's just see. I think that that's like part of manifesting it. And then the other part is that we have to do the teams, right? Like we want to do our all in for Harris action teams because that's fun too. Like you can get your girlfriends involved and like, honestly, who doesn't want to do that? Like have like a fun time and be for something, not against, because I don't even care about them. Like that's the truth is like, I'm so done with the negativity and the weirdness and the fucking couches. I'm sorry. I'm just over it. Do you know what I mean? All I want is for like people to have equality and like kids to have food. Is that crazy? It's not crazy. It's not crazy. So let's focus on the positive. Let's manifest. Let's get our stuff together and let's all move forward. Guys, it's been a long few weeks, but I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you, Busy. Let's go. Let's everyone make their vision board. And I love the idea of what we're voting for. We've been talking so much the last 8 years about what we're voting against. Let's focus on what we are voting for, because that is going to excite the apathetic middle, those voters that we're going for.
Wait,
and also,
Liz,
yes.
Can I just say, it is like the thing that became so clear to me in 2019 when I first spoke about my abortion and then I testified before Congress, is that your own personal story is the thing that impacts others in your life and people in your community. Because you cannot go to the grocery store and see the same person again and again and again and share with them your lived personal experience and then have them basically say to you, well, you don't deserve a right. You don't deserve this. And so it is scary at first. I get it. It can be very scary to share your own personal lived experience. But the more that we all, especially as women, do it, the more that people will respond. And that is how you bring people in. It's how you change people's hearts and minds. And truly, like, you know, another DeRay McKesson thing. It's like in a choir, you want everyone singing the same tune and you want everyone to be harmonizing together. And we are all now singing the same tune and we can like do this thing because we can harmonize together, but it's going to take all of us in all the different ways, in the baritone and the whatever alto. I don't know all the things, guys. I wasn't in choir. I'm just saying we have to just be very laser focused on the fact that like our stories are going to change the people in our immediate communities. And that's the most powerful thing. I'm from Arizona. Go Arizona. We're going to do it.
Yes. Make the personal political and make the political personal.
But the personal is political. Like being a woman inherently is a political act.
Exactly.
That's it.
You're the best. Thank you, Busy.
Hey. Love you.
Our final speaker this evening is someone who I have been following for years as a gun violence prevention advocate. Shaundelle Brooks's family survived unimaginable tragedy, and that motivated her to advocate for stricter gun laws in her home state of Tennessee. And then when that Republican-controlled legislature slammed the door in her face, she came for their jobs. And now Shaundelle is running to represent District 60 in Tennessee in their state house. And on Tuesday, she won her primary. And now she will face off against a former aide of Speaker Cameron Sexton in November. If you don't know, Speaker Cameron Sexton is the man who is responsible for expelling the Tennessee Three while they were protesting against the state's inaction following the Covenant school shooting. Shaundelle, I'm inspired by you every day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story and your message of empowerment with us this evening.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, everyone. I am honored to be here with all these powerful women on the panel. I'm the last one. I'm going to jump right into it. I know I have a few minutes. And I wrote everything that I wanted to say. So I can keep it under 2 minutes. Wow. On April 22nd, 2018, my two sons, Abedi and Akila, were a part of a mass shooting at the Waffle House here in Tennessee. Abedi made it home, but Akila didn't. Watching Akila laying there cold and motionless, I told him I would do everything in my power to make sure that he gets the justice, that I will fight to be his voice, that I will fight so no other family will suffer the way my family is suffering. Unfortunately, my pain didn't stop there. A year ago, Abedi was leaving a venue where he performed and was shot in his head. He survived, but the bullet is still lodged in the back of his brain. Getting that same call, that same emergency room, that same feeling that I can't breathe, saying to God, this is not happening again. Please don't let this happen again. My anxiety took full control of me. I knew then I had to do more. I had to take my activism to another level. After going to DC, to Capitol Hill, and back to Tennessee, climbing the stairs of Tennessee State Capitol, telling my reality, testifying against harmful bills, begging, pleading, crying in committees, and was told no for 6 years and a half, watching politicians wearing AR-15 pins just because they knew I was coming. They were wearing their pins as I was speaking, and that was the last straw for me. Again, I told myself I had to be on the inside. I have to do more than vote them out, but I have to run against them. And not only run against them, but win against them. I have been telling myself for the past 6.5 years, our children deserve better. Our families deserve to be safe. We all should be able to go grab a bite at Waffle House and not be in fear of being shot. Our children should be able to attend school without parents fearing them not returning home. So I said, if you're not going to do something, after children are murdered, then not only will I vote, but I will run for your seat. The refusal of Tennessee government to protect us is the reason I'm running for office. I'm fighting for what America should look like, free of gun violence. We don't have to live this way. We don't have to live this way. I'm running to be the voice of my Akila and all the other children that didn't make it back home. I'm running so women can have control of their own medical decisions, for teachers to have control of their classrooms, we should all be able to have affordable health care. We can do anything as women. Anything that we set our minds to. All is possible. Fight like a mom, that's my slogan. Fight like a mom, because when you fight like a mom, we all win. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're exactly right. And whenever I hear Shaundelle speak, it makes me emotional and angry at Republicans and also empowered. And I think that's a pretty powerful combination. So let that fuel you. So one of our most important promises we made to kick off this call is that we would keep it to under an hour. And I think we kicked it off at 8:32. So how'd we do? Thanks. Good job, everyone. Those of you feeling fired up and ready to take action and join a phone bank in a battleground state, here it comes. This slide is for you. Scan the QR code, sign up for a weekly phone bank in one of these battleground states. You can do this from anywhere. Pick a state that means something to you, that's closest to you, or just pick randomly. Adopt a battleground state, set a goal for how many calls you're going to make, and start dialing. And to sum everything up, we're going to redrop some of the previous links, including the link to sign up so that you can send it to 5 friends and ask them to join us back here for Women Wednesdays for Harris. We've put everybody's Instagram handle in the chat so you can follow all of these incredible women. And we also have Women Wednesday t-shirts that Indivisible made. We're dropping that link in the chat. If anybody has any questions or suggestions, feedback for us, things they'd like to see in the future, please email allinforharris@indivisible.org, and we'll put that in the chat as well. And here are your takeaways, right? Ready? So screenshot this, take a picture with your phone if you're joining on your computer, text women to 30330 to sign up for Women for Harris. That plugs you right into the campaign and volunteer opportunities. Mark your calendar for 8/22, which is the last night of the Democratic National Convention, where we will be hearing from our amazing candidate, Vice President Harris. Plan a house party, more on that next week, but mark off the calendars because I know summer is busy. And when you're thinking about who you should invite to that watch party, it should be your action team. So I hope during this call you've been assembling them. Remember to register them with Indivisible. And last, I want to make sure everybody wrote down 3 policy wins or takeaways that they learned about Tim Walz tonight. 3 that resonate with me the most are universal free breakfast and lunch for all school children in Minnesota, that he was one of the first governors to sign abortion protections after Roe fell, and that he passed paid parental leave, all with a 1-seat Democratic majority in the state house. And I'll tell you that there's a lot of other blue states out there, Illinois, that haven't been able to do that. So talk about his accomplishments with friends and family. If your Trumper uncle at a barbecue is calling him a radical progressive, remind everyone that that just means he wants kids fed in school for free. So that is our show for the evening. I will see you back here next Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And tonight, I'm going to leave you with a quote from one of my favorite politicians from the great state of Indiana, Leslie Knope. And even though she's a fictional character from the show Parks and Rec, she is the author of the most fitting quote to sum up our call this evening. When we work together and we fight, scratch, and claw to make people's lives a tiny bit better, that's what public service is all about. Small, incremental change every day. Teddy Roosevelt once said, far and away, the best prize that life has to offer is a chance to work hard at work worth doing. And I would add that what makes work worth doing is getting to do it with the people that you love. Now go find your team and get to work. Good night.